Fuck! My name is Josh Miller. I own Riverstone Kennels, and I've been training gun dogs for more than 16 years. I have field trialed, I've hunt tested, but at the end of the day, I'm a duck hunter. You might find that the duck in our Duck Dogs podcast is spelled uniquely. The UK stands for my British Labs. I love my British Labs. I love what they offer me, both as a part of my family and the high motor in the field. As you're going to find, I have some pretty special dogs. Follow along in our podcast series here as we talk about both in the field hunting and in the field training situations that will hopefully help you progress with your dog at home. Welcome back to another episode of Duck Dogs, everybody. I'm your host, Josh Miller, coming to you from our brand new podcast studio, which is super exciting. Don't think too much into it because it's my office that was revamped by Aaron to give us more of a presentation here to help us record, put a little more into this, and it's going to be really neat. She's done a great job with this, and so here we are in the new and improved podcast studio. So before we get going here, let's make sure we thank our wonderful sponsors that make this show possible. Thank you to Eukanuba. Eukanuba Premium Performance Sport 3020 is the blend of food that I feed my dogs while we are training, while we're on the road and throughout hunting season. It's a great blend of food. If you're looking for a high quality food to put your four-legged hunting partner on, I would highly recommend Eukanuba Premium Performance Sport 3020. Also, thank you to Lucky Duck. Lucky Duck is your 5-star crash test rated kennel, both in the intermediate and in the large size. So no matter how big or small your hunting partner is, you can be sure that you're traveling as safe as you possibly can. Also check out the kennel cot, the kennel cover, kennel pad, kennel fan. They have all these accessories to make sure that your dog stays as comfortable as possible while you're traveling. www.luckyduck.com. Also, thank you to Gun Dog Supply. Gun Dog Supply is your one-stop shop for all of your hunting and training needs for your four-legged hunting partner. They're great people, great customer service, great product selection. I just cannot say enough great things about them. www.gundogsupply.com. Also, thank you to Kent Cartridge. Kent is the shotgun shell of choice for us. We were shooting the bismuth loads all waterfowl season long. And now that we're at the pheasant range, now we have the upland loads that we're shooting. We love the shells, love the performance. www.kentcartridge.com. Also, thank you to Sitka Gear. Sitka Gear is your premium option for outdoor clothing. I know we're kind of transitioning out of hunting season and into training season, but be sure to check out their everyday wear from the back 40 pants all the way through the grinder hoodie. There's just so many options. I can go on and on and on about what I prefer to wear here, but www.sitkagear.com and go make sure that you can stay in the field comfortable for longer. And last but not least, thank you to Retriever Roadmap. Retriever Roadmap is your premium option for online training as you want to train your own dog at home yourself. Great community, great program. We've just loved the community that we've had there. And we're having events, we're having training days. It's a really cool thing. www.retrieverroadmap.com. And as a Duck Dog listener, if you check out and use the code DD for Duck Dogs, DD100, that will get you $100 off your membership to Retriever Roadmap to get started. So DD100. All right, well, here we are in, like it said, the brand new studio. So this is kind of a little bit of a newer format that we're going to be having. I don't want to change too much up. I've already tried. If you remember back, I tried changing up the intro, and I got basically nothing but negative feedback of go back to the old one, go back to the old one. So I don't want to change too much up, but I do want to change a little bit to where I'll kind of go into what this is going to do. So Erin is she is in the studio here with me. She's going to kind of help me do a number of things here, but Erin can kind of jump in here and there. So
hello, everyone.
So, Erin, although she's not going to be necessarily like a guest role in this, she's going to be here and she's going to be helping me basically record the podcast episode itself. And so for me, I would like to be having some more guests on. I would like to be doing some more things, but it just got to be a lot to where I was recording. I was basically being kind of the director and like doing all the sound the sound stuff in the fly in the moment. And then my biggest thing, as I'm sure a lot of you noticed, is that I can get very inconsistent in when I sit down and record these. And so the biggest reason that I don't have a lot of guests is because I just knew for me I couldn't stay consistent enough in being doing every week on Tuesday I do this. I couldn't do it with my schedule a lot during the training season, right? We have a rain day on Monday. Like I can't lose much on Tuesday because I got to make stuff up. And so it was always kind of on the fly as I could do it. Well, one thing I've really learned about myself, especially in the last couple of years, is that I prioritize the things that are in front of my face. And so when I'm at the kennel, if Dave needs something, if Aaron needs something, if Whitney needs something, whatever it is, even if I'm like, hey, I'm going to go record a podcast at noon, if they all of a sudden need help, there's a dog that's struggling or whatever, my priority automatically redirects to what's in front of me. And then this, quite frankly, the podcast is always what suffered because that was always in the back of my mind. It was always by myself. And so I didn't have someone, to kind of push me. Well, hopefully that is going to be changed now because Erin is going to help push me here. So, or at least hopefully she can keep me on track with everything. So, so anyway, so what we're going to be doing here is, we're going to, this will be the same old podcast in a lot of ways, but we're going to implement. First, we're going to start with just one idea. Again, I don't want to shake too much stuff up, right away. But Aaron, why don't you go over your dog bowl idea and kind of let everybody know what we're going to be doing there.
Yeah, so for this dog bowl idea, every now and then whenever Josh is in town, not hunting, we will post a story on Instagram with a question box where you can ask Josh any question, appropriate question that you would like.
That might be a key point, appropriate.
Yeah, so like sports, anything like how you and Whitney met, like questions like that. That will just be fun and for you guys to get to know Josh a little bit better too.
Yeah, and so we've kind of opened that up to where it can be anything, right? It can be dog centric, it can be training centric, it can be hunting centric. Quite frankly, we open it up to where it could be anything. Aaron is going to be reading these in the moment, and so I will not have time to prep for any of these. So I'm a little nervous about that, especially knowing some of you guys out there that listen to this, what you could be sending in here for questions. But I do think it'll be fun. It'll be a little off the cuff. It'll be, I think it'll be kind of throw some spontaneity. Is that the right word there? Something like that. It'll throw something in there for us. So I think it'll be really good. So anyway, I think that's a great thing, and that'll be there. So the other thing that Erin is going to do is Erin is actually at the computer, and she's going to be able to fact check me if we have things we need some checking on or some double checking on. And so I think it'll be nice, and too, it'll just be nice to have somebody here that hopefully keeps me more consistent in doing this and making this a priority as it should be. So Erin will be kind of in the background here, so it's great. So okay, so what we're actually going to be doing tomorrow is we're going to have Kristen Willett, who you guys may or may not have heard of. If you're in the Retriever Roadmap community, Kristen. She's been very active. Her and her husband, Pete Willett, actually they have a custom boat shop that if you follow along, especially on the Riverstone channel, you saw that I had a new boat in Arkansas this year. Those guys had built it, but they're actually up here, or Kristen is up here rather, kind of apprenticing under Whitney and learning some kind of ins and outs of as far as the puppy side of things. So Whitney is busy. She has 3 litters, 2 of which have already been born, and she has a 3rd one on the way. This week. So it's very go, go, go. And so for them, they're busy doing that stuff here today. Hopefully we can sneak them in here tomorrow and kind of give a little bit of background on the puppy update, puppy side of things. And then too, I just want to learn, I want to know from Kristen, like what has she been seeing this week? Because this is a kind of a neat behind the scenes part of this where I feel like so many people be so interested in seeing like, how did my puppy's life literally start? Right. And, there's certainly ups and there's certainly downs. And I just kind of want to, in the moment, it's very raw. I want to kind of get some insight there. So I'm excited for that. But today, this is going to be a little bit of a quicker episode because I have some run reviews scheduled here in, I don't know what, Aaron, like 30 minutes or so we don't have a ton of time. Mm-hmm. So, but what we're going to be doing with the run reviews, we do this in the Retriever Roadmap community, is people can send in just like a training run that they've been doing and just show it on video and just, ask, hey, this is what I'm working on, this is what it looks like, what do you think? Then I can go through and critique. And it's really been a very productive time spent. And this has been great, great, feedback from the community on this has been a great thing. I've really enjoyed it. So I do have that scheduled, so we don't have a ton of time. But what I want to do today is I want to give kind of a Pheasant Ranch recap. So if you guys, have been caught up, or if you haven't been, let me give you a quick lowdown here. So I have a new Pheasant Ranch that I started in Missouri. And it's really neat. And why Missouri? That's kind of one of the questions. I just had the access to what I needed in Missouri, and so I have a gorgeous, gorgeous lodge. I have access to a great cook that's right there nearby. I have access to over 15,000 acres right there. Everything that I need to make this thing happen. And so what I wanted to do is I wanted to kind of take another step in our season. So end of January, waterfowl season is done. And then what? We really kind of have this lull between January 31st, or call it February 1st, and for us here in the north part of the states, at least, through usually at least end of March, if not, more like end of February, to where the weather, Mother Nature just does not offer herself to be very fond to us as far as, we have snow, we have ice, we have all these things. Now this year, not so much, which has been fantastic. But obviously we can't bank on every year us sitting here on whatever today is, February 8th. And we have no snow, we have rain, and I think it's like 48 degrees. So we can't bank on that here in Wisconsin every year. So what this has done for me is it fills a void. It allows me to get my dogs out in an upland format and show them in that manner. And I'm going to kind of talk about some of kind of the challenges that I've had with that, but then also some of the successes as well as we've gone through this, because this is something I know a lot of you guys do. You are going to both upland and waterfowl hunt your dogs, and it is a challenge. I mean, it's not easy. It's not something that that anybody can do without being intentional about making sure that their dog can do both and be controlled in both manners. And that's kind of what I'm going to dig into more than anything. For me, from a business side, it was important that I started showcasing my dogs in the upland field because, I mean, some of you guys are going to laugh at this, but this is the honest truth. Perception is reality. And we had numerous people that were sending their dogs in for training that told us that they wish they could have got a puppy from us, and the reason they didn't get a puppy from us, it wasn't the wait time, it wasn't anything else except that they were a pheasant hunter or an upland hunter, and I don't upland hunt. And the thought there was, well, I need my dog to upland hunt, and Josh's dogs can't. And to me, it's funny. To a lot of you guys, it probably is funny too. But I also understand the significance of, if you don't know that, you don't know that, right? And so if you're not seeing it, if it's not in front of your face, then I do understand. I understand the question of like, well, I pheasant hunt. It's cool that they duck hunt. It's cool that the dogs can do that stuff, but I need a dog that's going to fit what I want to do. Totally get that. Totally understand that. So that's where I kind of shifted. I was like, hey, I need to do more of this pheasant stuff. And I'll tell you what, we had an absolute ball with this. It was so fun. It was so laid back. The dogs got tons of feathers in their mouth. We had fantastic people, so we only had the first group come in. Fantastic people. So I'll tell you how we kind of shake this out from a format itinerary standpoint. So the guys come in night before, we have dinner, kind of get to meet everybody a little bit. The next morning we have breakfast, and then I do my safety talk. And the safety talk is really important to me because I have to lay out, hey, like, this is why, this is, you're only shooting if you see daylight in the background. We're not shooting birds on the ground. We're not shooting birds that are running. We're not shooting. I think I have like 4 different times in the talk that you're not shooting birds on the ground. Like, that's so important to me because I don't want dogs to get shot. And safety has to be the number one priority in this. And so there's a lot to that. There's a lot to go through and a lot to, just kind of, reiterate as far as a safety side, gun safety. Like one thing that I have in there is that, we're not loading our guns until we get in the field. A lot of accidents happen because guns are loaded and then you're thinking about something else other than that loaded weapon, right? So just keep the guns unloaded. Let's stay safe until we're in the field, all this stuff. And a lot of you guys know this, right? Well, I went through that safety talk, and I think we had 10 guys, and I had 5 of them that had never hunted ever before. And I was like, oh, that's really cool, right? We're going to get to experience this together. I was excited about it. And these guys were from an electric company and incredible people. I mean, from top to bottom, just fantastic human beings. I loved all my time, with them. I can't wait. Hopefully we get to do this again next year as they come back. But from there, from the safety talk, we go out and we shoot clays. Now, from a client or a hunter standpoint, the shooting in clays is fun because you get to kind of knock the rust off, shoot the gun a little bit, get dialed in. It's just kind of an easy way to kind of ease into it. For me, it's an incredibly important part of our process because while everyone's shooting clays and having fun, I am taking notes, both mental and physical notes, on who I have to watch in a safe manner. And if there's someone that's being unsafe, quite frankly, you're not going to go out and hunt in this manner, and here's why. We're going to have this talk now, not in a situation that we're going to be really dangerous. And so it's a very important part of my process, and everybody was really great. But I was very nervous about it because literally the first thing that happened is I have a guy hold up I think it was maybe it was a Remington 1100. It was like kind of an older semi-auto style. And he looks at me and he holds his gun and he goes, "How do I load this?" And I was like, oh my goodness. So, with that being kind of the kickoff to it, the start of it, I'm like, okay, I'm a little edgy, I'm a little on guard, but we walked through it and it literally gave me the opportunity to go from step 1 to actually firing the round and be as safe as possible. I'll tell you what, that individual that I just mentioned was probably the safest person of anyone in the group. Everybody was safe, but he was like ultra safe. And so it was really neat to kind of watch that and see that, and those guys had a blast. So then that afternoon we go out on a hunt, and these are our walking style hunts that we are doing here for this group, which is, dogs are working out in front of us and, flushing and then, retrieving and you guys know how, we up and hunt, right? So I had basically all my dogs, and I was kind of rotating them through, and I usually have them out 2 at a time, and everybody loved it. Everybody did a really good job. Now, when I go through my dogs, there were dogs that I held back, and I will not, at least for now, I will not allow them to work in front of me, in this fashion, quartering back and forth. And those 2 dogs are Tucker and Boris. Those 2 dogs I'm not going to allow to do this, mainly because they're very young, they're still very impressionable, and they are both absolute superstars. And for what I do between waterfowl hunting, between hunt tests, between what I'm going to ask them to do in training, I'm not willing to risk them going a little wild on me right now until I have another year or 2 of just solidifying what I know that I have and getting them to the point that I feel very comfortable and get enough repetition. That's a personal thing. And what I think could happen, because I know there's probably some questions of like, well, what could happen? Well, you get a dog that's working out in front of you often. That dog is likely going to want to challenge you on breaking more more frequently, I should say, than maybe before, right? The reason is they're out there making it happen. And so you think about this for a young dog. If you have a young dog that you're going into your season with, you're like, okay, what do I do? What I always recommend people to do is if you're an upland and a waterfowl hunter, at least give that dog the first season of just waterfowl hunting. You can loosen the screws and you can let him go and you can work in front later on. But it is very difficult to take a dog that works out in front more often and then suck them back and make them sit at your side for 4 or 5 hours. And for a young dog, again, trying to comprehend this, it's so much easier to let's solidify that sit at your side first and then let you go out. Now, this all depends on expectation, right? You could have a dog that gets a little anxious if he's used to being out in front, making it happen. So that's where potential whining, potential wanting to break, there are a number of things that could come with that. I just really like giving them at least one season, sitting at your side, keeping them reined in, keeping them reined back, not letting them go out in front of you. That's my personal opinion. And so, but that's why, I have a lot of high expectations for them, especially those two, because they are both absolute rock stars. They're both big motors. They're both powerhouse drive. I'm not willing to let that go. And so those two, they are only going to be with me as we do hill hunts. So our hill hunts that we do, they sit at my side. The birds fly at us. Guys shoot, and then it's essentially like a waterfall type situation. They're sitting at our side, and they're picking up when I release them, run blinds, run marks, honor each other. That is a great situation for them. So the dogs actually did really well. Now, a couple dogs that I was really surprised that they did so well was a dog like Rory, who again is a younger dog. At this time, I don't plan on him being kind of full time, with us here. I think at some point he will find a forever home as I finish him out. But he handled it really well, and so from a quartering, from a control standpoint, from a delivery, everything about it was fantastic. I really liked him. And some of the older dogs, I was shocked at how these dogs have waterfowl hunted their whole life, how easily they took to being out in front and working. And that was something that I think the biggest reason for that is because they've had years of obedience. They're not going to go wild because I release them, let them go. They're not going to completely run to the other end of the field. They're not going to be completely out of control because the obedience is still such a foundation. So I really like that. I like that side of it. And this has always been my biggest knock on just upland hunting in general, is that I feel like with flushing dogs, too often those dogs are out of control the majority of the time. And that's where it's nonstop whistling, nonstop yelling at them, and that is just not enjoyable to me at all. I want to be quiet. I want the dogs to do their job. I want them to be under control. And we're able to do that and control it. Now, here's my highlight of the whole trip. Luke Muter, who has become a really good friend of mine, but it was he and his dad's company that came and had this group, and he brought his young dog Navy, who was a strike puppy, strike from Riverstone, and so he had this pup, 7 months old. He had done a bird and gun introduction, and he walked on one. I think it was day 2. He walked, had her on a check cord, just kind of walked behind the group so she could see everything, and she got to go pick up her first bird. Right, there was an opportunistic bird that fell. Luke sent her on him, and she went over to it. Took maybe a second to try to figure out how to pick this thing up because she had just been on pheasant or pigeons up to that point, hasn't picked up a big pheasant. Figured it out, came to us, hoorah, we got a great photo. It was fantastic. Then the next day, we go out, and Luke kind of pulled me aside and he's like, "Hey, what do you think about bringing Navy out?" And I was like, "I think it's a great idea." And I was like, "Let's set her up for success." So here's what we did. So I had my pointer, my setter down there. He's a pointing dog, but setter's his breed, named Ranger. And Ranger, what we did is we let him run. He would find a bird, he'd point, and then we would bring Navy up and let her work into him. And so what happened here is Navy got to get on a bird, get that reward very quickly, right? We had a very educated, by Ranger, very educated that there is a bird in this area. Let her go hunt the area instead of, hey, let's have her work for 30 to 40 minutes and then hopefully run into something. This was more intentional, like, hey, let's get her here, boom, put this bird up, we shoot, Navy's right on it, gets retrieved, hoorah, fantastic. The highlight of the whole trip for me, this was all part of it. right? Watching this young dog figure this out every retrieve, she was more and more confident. Probably 4 or 5 birds in on this last day. Bird gets up, flies behind us. Luke's dad turns, waits for it to be safe, shoots, kind of sails this bird, hits the treetops, and falls. Now, I can't even see this bird as it falls because I'm underneath a big hill. So there goes Navy. Over to the big hill, down. Now, she had to go down the big hill, across a creek, through the ravine, up the woods the other side to get on this bird. And I couldn't see it because I was on the other side. So I'm like trying to figure out where the mark is. I'm trying to keep my eye on it, get up to the top of the hill. And all of a sudden I hear Luke being, good girl, Navy, good girl, Navy. And I was like, So I yell over, like, is she over there? And he's like, yep. So I run as fast as I can to the top of the hill. And I just get there enough to see this little girl coming up the hill with that rooster in her mouth, just proud as can be. And you got Luke over there that, he texted me later on and he's like, I was trying to keep it as cool as I could, but I was so excited. And I was like, man, you should be. That was absolutely fantastic. And, those are the moments, right? Like you take that little dog and you see what Luke's going to be doing, with her, a lot of, upland hunting by the sounds of it. And watching her figure this game out and watching her be successful and watching her build on that success, it was really a cool thing, really a fun thing, and hopefully there's more of that, to come here this season. But here's what I'll say, just kind of recap wise, is that there are certainly going to be struggles with both, right? With a dog that does both. I feel like you're going to have to be very intentional. Like for me, like when I get done with this season, I'm going to be very intentional, but hey, we're just doing steady marks again, right? Like just get back to this is the control side of it. And, but I also see a lot of benefits. I mean, shoot here, my dogs were able to get, a lot more birds. I mean, they're probably each going to get 100 more retrieves, because of, the next 4 or 5 weeks and, the last week. So there's so much benefit. I think there is some really positive things, but I do think from a dog standpoint, from a handler standpoint, if you are going to have your dog do both, I think you really have to be intentional and really watch it. You start to see the wheels starting to come off. You got to pull them off that upland situation, hone them back in, or find a way to have them be more under control, whether that's with a collar, what have you. You read your situation, but just don't let that get out of control, because I feel like that could get out of control very, very quickly. But we had a blast. We had absolute blast. I actually couldn't believe how much fun I had with it. So all really good stuff. So, Aaron, should we do some dog bowl?
Yes. Are you ready?
I don't know if I'm ready, but I'm as ready as I'm ever going to be.
Okay, perfect. I'll draw the first one here out of our dog dish. Okay, what is your most memorable hunt/retrieve this year?
That is a really good one. Let's see if there's something that kind of jumps out at me. That Navy one I just talked about, just because it's fresh in my mind, is certainly up there. I know it wasn't one of my dogs, but it was a puppy out of one of our dogs that I felt like that was really special, especially watching the owner kind of go through that ride of emotions. I like that. I think Boris's first hunt sticks out to me because I truly believe that dude is going to be an absolute superstar. And so to kind of watch him handle that first hunt, I felt like that was important, or that was an important step in his progress. So I felt like that was a big deal. I think looking back, man, there's so much. So I have two ends of the spectrum. I'm thinking about a couple retrieves that both Tucker and Boris had, being that they're kind of my young guns coming into this. They stick out. But then I have the other end of the spectrum too, where I have Clyde and Brock at 8 and 9, and I mean there certainly is that reality that sets in. Like every time you're out, like is it the last one? Like you sure hope not, right? But like as they start to get that age, you start to wonder. And so each one of them having their hunts, I think that was a special thing too. There's not a specific retrieve necessarily that stands out to me right now, but I think just a combination of those things kind of made this season special.
Yeah. Awesome. We'll do the next one. What is your favorite call, company, and call?
Oh my gosh, that's interesting. Well, here's what I'll say. So I've been able to use a lot of different calls. I think my go-to duck call tends to be an echo. Mainly because the guys down at Echo, I think, are really cool to work with. When I'm down in Arkansas, you can go right to the shop. They deal with them. They've just been great guys. I'll tell you the story. I really I like Zink because of Fred Zink. And Fred was, as I was young, so I used to, I'm going to say, attempt to blow in calling competitions when I was younger, in like my like early college, like late high school kind of years. And Fred was one of those guys that he was almost like Tom Brady, right? Like he's on a pedestal, at least to somebody like me. He has his own call company. Everybody knows his name. And there were numerous times that he would actually talk to me as I came like off doing a routine. And that was neat to me. And I think for me, that kind of made that brand human, to me. And that, even today, like I have a Zink, both duck and Canada call on my lanyard right now. So I think that for me, I like. I'm not saying that they're like. I'm not saying that's the best call. I'm not saying it's not, right? But I'm not saying like it's like my go-to because of that. But I do think from a brand standpoint, him being personal with me was a big deal to me.
For sure. Should we do one more?
Yeah, let's do one more.
Okay. Let's see. What is your favorite thing about yourself?
Oh my gosh. I'd love to know who did this one. Okay, I'll kind of go off of something that somebody asked me earlier today, and so I certainly don't. At least I don't think I do. I don't go out of my way to talk about myself, right? So like that's why this is like a hair difficult for me. But here's what I'll say is that somebody was asking me about entrepreneurship literally earlier today, and we were kind of talking about that side of it. And this individual, I won't use a name because I think it's pretty private, thinking about starting his own business and just kind of asking some ideas. And I kind of told him both the positives and the negatives, right? Because there's certainly negatives. And one of the things I told him is that somebody told me a long time ago that being your own boss is great. Like you can pick any 80 hours of the week you want to work, right? I'm like, okay, like, makes sense. But I'm like, it really is true. I mean, it's like you feel like you have, in theory, all this freedom, but the reality is like you end up digging in and working that much more. And so, but it's, for me, I've never looked at what I do as a burden. Like I've never looked at it as I've always been, I want the next level. I want the next thing. I want the, so for me, I think, that passion and that drive, like I've never looked at working as really work. Like I've looked at it as, I want to go do something. Like I want to prove to everyone around me that I can do it and that I can set something up for my family and for my kids and for my employees and for my clients and everything else, right? Like that's what I've always strived to do. And, it was really interesting. Like I look at all these things I've kind of gotten into, whether it's entrepreneurship or roping. Like I'm looking at the nice display of all my special ropes that Aaron put together on my wall behind me. Like I never thought that would ever be a reality. And at some point, like I just decide like I'm just going to do this. And you don't always win. There's certainly losses, but I believe that the losses make the wins that much sweeter. And so. Maybe perseverance, might be part of that. What? Let me ask you, what's your answer to that? Because you've been around me for a couple of years now. You know, so you've gotten to know at least the ins and outs of like who I am.
Yeah, I would say your ability, like kind of what you were going off of, just your ability to like follow your dreams and your goals that you have set for yourself. I feel like that's just really inspiring, especially like being a younger person who's out of college and like kind of just like I don't really know like where to go from here. I feel like you set a really great example for young people just to like follow your dreams no matter your age. Like you're never too old to do something. And I totally can agree with you on that.
Thank you. Thank you. You know what's funny when you say that is that I am very old to be getting into like the roping stuff. Like, you know, when I go to these rodeos, you start talking to guys like when they start, it's like 6, 8.
Oh my gosh,
like they're doing this. You know, look at Colt, my son. Like, man, that little kid swings a rope every day, right? And he's 3, right? So I'm like, you know, he's in. So he's obviously going to be one of those early age, you know, guys. And I think I picked up my first rope at 32. And so last year would have been the first rodeo I entered would have been 34, right? So I'm like, that's very, very old.
Yeah.
And I don't feel old, right? I don't feel like, and I want to be pushing. I want to do this for as long as I can. I want to stay, athletic. I want to stay, active. I want to stay all these things. But, that was, I can't tell you how many people, told me like, why would you do that at your age? Right? And I'm like, I don't feel like I'm not 70, right? I don't feel like I'm old and I can't do this.
Yeah.
And every time somebody told me that, it just made me want to do it more. It just kind of pushed me. So, yeah, but I appreciate that. Like it's kind of weird because it's like one of those situations. I don't think you and I probably would ever talk about that outside of something like this. But it's to me, it's motivating to hear you say that because then it kind of pushes me, to keep better myself and keep trying to level up and
and you just have such a why not personality too, which is really cool.
Yeah. Well, one of our sayings we will say around the kennel is, find. Don't tell me why we can't.
Yeah.
How can we? Right. Find how we can. So, it's good.
Yeah.
It's good stuff.
Awesome.
So,
that was fun.
Yeah. I like that. I like the dog bowl. It might turn out to be a pretty fun thing. So, cool. We're going to wrap this up so I can get ready for these run reviews here for the Retriever Roadmap gang. But I appreciate everybody tuning in here and listening here today. And tomorrow we'll get Whitney and Kristen on here and start talking some puppies and some. And Kristen actually has a really interesting background too. So I want to kind of dig into a little bit of that too. So anyways, hope you guys have a fantastic rest of your day, rest of your week, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Thanks for listening. Be sure to follow us on Facebook and Instagram. Leave us a review on iTunes, and a special thank you to Eukanuba because without them, we couldn't do what we do here, bringing this information to you.